Morning. Greetings from BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore. This is the second module on discrete time signal system representation. So we are going to see the discrete time, linear time invariant system. Sorry. In the previous module, we had seen different methods of representing the discrete time, a linear time invariant systems. Invariant system. A quick recall of the various methods. First one was the constant coefficient difference equation. We had the representation by the impulse response. We also had a representation by the system transfer function h of z, the system pole zero plot. We had the representation by the frequency response h of omega and the block diagram representation. Diagram representation. This is what we had seen in the previous module. In today's module, we shall take up one example. We'll take up one example and try to represent it in various forms. So we'll take up an example, one particular example, and then we will see how we can represent the same system in these different forms. That's what we're going to see today. And in particular, we are going to see an FIR system today in this module. FIR is a finite impulse response. Impulse response. In the next module, we shall repeat the same for an IIR system. So yes, so we have the input x of n. We have an LTI, a linear time invariant system, and we have the output yn. Let's assume that we are given the difference equation of a system, say, which is one of the methods of representing the discrete time LTI system. For example, now today we're going to take a specific example. In the previous module, we had seen a general. Sorry. Hello. Namaskara. Yeah. Huh. Huh. How much? Huh. Okay. Huh. Oh, okay. Okay. We'll take care, sir. Thank you. Sorry for the disturbance. Okay, so let's consider an example wherein we are given a difference equation, a system difference equation. And there is a need to represent the same system in various methods and also arrive at classify the system in various methods possible. So we have the input x of n, we have the system, the LTI system, and we have the output y of n. Let us say output y of n is given by 1 plus 5, sorry, x of n plus 5 xn minus 1 plus 8 xn minus 2 plus 6 xn minus 3. This is purely for an example. We are taking finite number of terms and say this is our difference equation. So this is given to us, and let us try to compute the one method of representing, that is by using the, well, let us try to compute the impulse response of the system. Impulse response of the system Hn. We have seen in the previous class that given the difference equation, we can substitute different values of n and get the response. So what happens is when my input is an impulse, I have all terms of the input being 0 except the one at the origin. So I have this, and this is my origin. So x of n equal to 1 for n equal to 0, and it is 0 otherwise. This is my input impulse, or the unit impulse input. The unit impulse function as my input delta n. So now let us try to compute the output by an iterative method. So now in this equation, I will put n equal to 0, and then what I will get is my y of 0. Y of 0. So what I get is x of 0 plus 5 x of minus 1 plus 8 x of minus 2 plus 6 x of minus 3. And that makes it x of 0 is 1. We see here x of 0 is a 1, or by definition the unit impulse is 1 at n equal to 0, plus x of minus 1 is this quantity, x of minus 2 is this, and x of minus 3 is this. All are 0. So everything else being 0, everything else being 0, this tends to 0, x of minus 2 tends to 0, x of minus 3 is a 0. And hence I have y of 0 as 1. Proceeding further, let me compute y1. To compute y1, I put n equal to 1 in the difference equation, and then I get it as x of 1 plus 5 x of n minus 1. That becomes 1 minus 1 is a 0, plus 8 x of minus 1 plus 6 x of minus 2. Now once again, this x of 0 is a 1, and all other terms x of, since only x of 0 is a 1 and everything else is 0, so this tends to a 0, this is a 0, x of minus 2 is a 0. So what I have is, I have my result as y1 is equal to 5. 5 into minus 5 into, I have my y1 as 5. Proceeding similarly, we will okay, or say I compute y2, I get similarly x of 2 plus 5 x of minus 1 plus 8 x of 0 plus 6 uh, x of minus 1. So once again, all terms are 0. X of 2 is a 0. X minus 1 is a 0. This is, sorry, this is a plus 1, and yes, and x of minus 1 is also a 0. So what we get is, we get once again y2 as 8. And similarly, If I compute y3, I will get it as x of 3 plus 5 x of 2 plus 8 x of 1 plus 6 x of 0, and all the terms except x0 is a 0 and x0 is a 1, and so I get this y3 as 6. And if I compute y4, y4 will be x4 plus 5x2 x3 plus 8x2 plus 6x1, and all of them are 0, and for any other value I'm going to get it as a 0. So combining all these results, I now have my impulse response h of n. Impulse response h of n as 1, 5, 8, 6. And this is the origin is here. I can sketch the result. If I attempt to sketch the result, I have it as a function of n, my impulse response h of n. For n equal to 0, it's a 1. For n equal to 1, it's a 5. For n equal to 2, it's an 8, and for n equal to 3, it's a 6. And this is what I get. This is what I have as my impulse response. Now, what is the observation we have? By looking at the impulse response, the system properties that we can arrive at. One is system is stable because sigma mod h of n is equal to 1 plus 5, that is 6, 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 8, that is 20, that is finite, and hence the system is stable because sigma mod absolute, because the impulse response is absolute summable, the system is stable. This is one observation we make from the impulse response. The next observation that we make, the impulse response is 0 for n less than 0. That is -1. For n equal to -1, -2, etc., it's all 0. Because the impulse response is 0 for n less than 0, we conclude the system is causal. Causal because output is 0 for n less than 0, and hence the system is causal. So these are the two observations we make. It is stable and it is causal. And the next one is it is an FIR system. This is an FIR system because that is FIR, which stands for finite impulse response. Actually, it is finite duration impulse response. So here the impulse response, the length, if I consider the length of the impulse response h of n, I have 4 non-zero values, and hence the length is 4. The length is 4 and 4 is finite, and hence this is an example of finite duration impulse response. So having seen the impulse response method, we shall now move on to another method of representing the same system. So what we have is, let us take the second method of representing, which is the system transfer function h of z. What is given to us is the difference equation 1 x of n plus 5 xn minus 1 plus 8 xn minus 2 plus 6 xn minus 3. We saw in the previous class, in the previous module, that if xn has a z transform x of z and say yn has a z transform yz, the time shift property of the z transform x of n minus n naught, we saw that this has a z transform x of z. So z bar minus n naught. This is the time shift property of the z transform. This is what we had seen in the previous module, and where the z transform of a sequence of a discrete time sequence is given by minus infinity to infinity x of n z bar minus n. This is by definition. And now let us try to get the transfer function of the system h of z, which is nothing but the transfer function h of z is given by the output, the ratio of the output z transform by the input z transform. So let us take the z transform of the difference equation. Let's try to take that z transform of the difference equation. So what I have is the left hand side I have yz equal to z transform of x of n becomes x of z plus 5xn minus 1. 5 is by linearity. Z transform satisfies the linearity property. And x of n minus 1, by the time shift property, this is going to become z bar minus 1 x of z plus, similarly, by time shift property, x of n minus 2 will have a z transform z bar minus 2. And hence by linearity, 8 remains. 8 z inverse x of z plus 6, sorry, z minus 2. Z minus 3 x of z. And what we have is, we have y of z equal to, I can write this as 1 plus 5z inverse plus 8 z power minus 2 plus 6 z power minus 3 into x of z, because all the terms are getting multiplied by x of z. This now makes my transfer function h of z, which is given by the ratio of y of z by x of z as 1 plus 5 z inverse plus 8 z power minus 2 plus 6 z power minus 3. So this is my transfer function h of z, which I can also write it. Yeah. So this is my transfer function h of z. So this becomes the second method of representing the given discrete time LTI system. Now let's look at another method of representing, which is the pole zero plot. The third method, the pole zero plot of the system. So the pole zero plot is nothing but a plot of the roots of the numerator and the denominator polynomial. So now here I have h of z as 1 plus 5 z inverse plus 8 z minus 2 plus 6 z minus 3. What I will do is I will change the polynomial into positive powers of z. So I'll multiply all terms by z cube, and what I get is z cube plus 5z square plus 8z plus 6 by z cube. This is my transfer function, and I need to find the roots of my numerator and the denominator to get the pole zero plot. For this, let me use a since I find it not so easy to directly obtain the roots of a third order polynomial, let me resort to an engineering tool, and let me take the help of MATLAB and try to sorry. So here I have my sequence. The impulse response was given by 1 5 8 6 8 6, and let me try to get the roots of the numerator, roots of this h of n. If I look at the roots, I have the roots at minus 3, then minus 1 plus j, minus 1 minus j. So let me just go back. So we have the zeros. The zeros of the system are located at at -3, -1, -j, -1 plus j. And we have the poles of the system. We have 3 poles of the system, all located at the origin. And they are 3 in number. 3 poles, all the 3 poles located at the origin. So if I try to get the pole zero plot of this system, say I have the z plane, where this is my real axis and this is my imaginary axis. I have 1 0 at -3, say -3, say -1, -2. I have another 0 at -1, -j. I have a 0 at this is -1, -j, and a 0 at -1 plus j. And I have three poles at the origin. I have 3 poles at the origin, and these are the location of my zeros. By looking at the pole zero plot, we can immediately comment on the stability of the system. And in this case, we have 3 poles. All the poles are lying within the unit circle. If I take this as my unit circle, so all the poles, we have 3 poles, and all 3 poles lie at the origin, and are within the unit circle, and hence the system is stable. The system is stable. We will move further, and we'll also learn to comment on the frequency properties by looking at the pole zero plot. For now, we shall restrict to commenting on the stability of the system from the pole zero plot. And in general, an FIR system will have a large number of zeros, and all the poles of the FIR system will lie at, and hence an FIR system is going to be always stable. So this is another important observation that we make. The FIR system, no matter how many zeros we have, will always have all its poles at the origin, and hence it is going to be stable. It's going to be stable always. So this is one advantage of the FIR system. So having seen how to represent it as the pole zero plot, of course, if I go back to MATLAB, I can also try to get the pole zero plot by using the command, the z plane. I have my numerator as my unit impulse function hn, and my denominator is a 1, and hence I can try to observe the pole zero plot by using the inbuilt function. Yes, so this is my pole zero plot. See, we have 3 poles at the origin. We have 1 pole at -3, and we have 1 pole at -1 -j. We have another pole at -1 plus j. So a 0 at -3, a 0 at -1 -j, and a 0 at -1 plus j, and 3 poles here. So 3 zeros and 3 poles. This is the system, and this from the pole zero plot of the given FIR system. So moving further, let's go move on to represent the system by the frequency response. We have seen the pole zero, the fifth method of representing the frequency response. The frequency response, say h of omega, and we know that h of omega is nothing but h of z evaluated at z equal to e to the power of j omega. And by definition, h of omega is, if I have the impulse response, if I have the impulse response Hn, then the frequency response is given by minus infinity to infinity h of n e to the power of minus j omega n. This is one method of computing the frequency response. Or we can also get the Z transform and replace Z by e power j omega. In this case, we have our impulse response h of n as 1, 5, 8, 6 with the origin here. So we could also try by using this method. And what we have is h of omega is 1 e power j0 plus 5 e power minus j omega plus 8 e to the power of minus 2j omega plus 6 e to the power of minus 3j omega. So this is either way. Even if I had to take the Z transform, my Z transform was 1 plus 5 Z inverse plus 8 Z power minus 2 plus 6 Z power minus 3. Even if I replace Z by e power minus j omega, I get the same result. Whether I do from the impulse response and by definition of the frequency response, or from the Z transform and replace Z by e power j omega, I get the same expression for my frequency response h of omega. Now let us try to see how does this h of omega look like. Let's try to plot the result. So for convenience, let me put it down again. 1 plus 5 e power minus j omega plus 8 e power minus 2j omega plus 6 e power minus 3j omega. So what I could do is I could vary my omega for different values, say 0, pi by 2, pi, and so on, and then compute my h of omega. And once I get it, it's going to be in a for example, say omega equal to 0, I put omega equal to 0, and then I get 5 plus 1, 6, 8 and 6, 14, 14 plus 6 is 20. And so on. So I put pi by 2, e power minus j pi by 2, then e power minus 2, and so on, and then I can evaluate it. That is one way of doing manually. And then what I get, I can convert it to a magnitude form and the phase angle form. Angle of h of omega. And when I plot omega versus h omega, I will get the magnitude response. And when I plot omega versus angle h omega, I will get the phase response. So this is a way of doing it. I can vary omega for any level and any intervals I can take. This is for example just taking 4 values, but it's yes, 4 values, and I try to do it, and I try to get the result. This is one way of doing it, but since we have it ready here, let me try to compute the same frequency response using the MATLAB. Using MATLAB, just because I'm convenient with MATLAB, no other reason. I just need some tool to do my computations. So let's define our omega. Omega as say linearly spaced in the interval 0 to 2 pi. To begin with, let me put it as 0 to 2 pi, and let us say we can try to compute some 30 values in this interval, because when I use a tool, I can always go in for more values. When I'm doing it manually, maybe I restrict the number of values I compute. So let us say I take linearly spaced interval of omega in the interval 0 to 2 pi. And now my h omega is given by 1 plus 5 into e to the power of minus j omega plus I had 8 e to the power of minus 2j omega plus 6 e to the power of minus 3j omega. This is what I have, and I'm going to evaluate this at 30 values. So I get the result. So now MATLAB has done the computation. 1 plus 5 e power minus j omega plus 8 e power minus 2 j omega plus 6 e power minus 3 j omega. So now let's try to plot the result omega versus, I want the magnitude response, so I will do it as absolute value of h omega. H omega, and let me set my axis. Axis is going from 0. It's not required, but it's better to define the interval so that it lies in the within a defined range. We know the maximum value is 20, so I'm just putting the maximum as 0 to 22. Otherwise, we can leave it open and MATLAB will itself compute it. And let me also make the grid on. And if I have to give the title, this would be the magnitude response. So let's look at the plot. So this is what we are getting. This is the magnitude response of the system. It is high for low 0. I mean, that is omega. My x label is omega, and this is the magnitude. Okay, I should have put that as well. So this is what we have. And at pi, this is where I have my pi. Around pi, it is low. So by looking at the frequency response, I can immediately tell that this is a low pass filter because the frequency values are high around 0, and the magnitude decreases as omega tends to pi. And whatever happens in the interval 0 to pi also happens in the interval minus pi to plus pi. I mean, so let's draw the magnitude response since we have computed using MATLAB, just to ease a computation. So when we plot, this is omega, say this is pi, and say this is 2 pi, and magnitude of h of omega, the magnitude response, I have a maximum of 20. It decreases around pi, and once again it increases around sorry, this is what we have in this interval. By looking at this magnitude response, I can conclude that the system is a low pass filter because the strength of the magnitude is high around 0 and decreases around pi. See, pi represents a frequency of high frequency, not infinity. I will tell it represents the high frequency, and around 0 we have the low frequency. Sorry. And whatever happens at 0 will also happen at 2 pi. So this also corresponds to a low frequency. And similarly, 3 pi will correspond to a high frequency component. So from the frequency response, we are able to classify the system as a low pass filter. Now, just to check the periodicity of the response, instead of defining my omega as linearly spaced from 0 to 2 pi, let me just change my omega limits. Let me make it as linearly spaced in the interval, say minus 4 pi to plus 4 pi. And let us see, let me just increase the number of values to say some. And let me now compute my h omega. Let me compute my h omega. So I have MATLAB computed h omega. Now let me try to plot the result. Only thing is I need to now, since I'm defining the axis limits, I need to ensure that I retain, so my minus 4 pi to 4 pi was my axis limits. And let me now see how the plot is. So we are having the same, and we are trying to plot the magnitude response. So now look at it. So we have defined the interval minus 4 pi to plus 4 pi, and we have 4 cycles. This is one cycle, the second, the third, and the fourth. So in an interval of minus 4 pi to plus 4 pi, we got 4 complete cycles. So we already know that the frequency response is periodic with period 2 pi, and this small computation just help reiterates the value, the observation. So the frequency response is periodic, and the exact plot, of course, we have seen it using MATLAB. So it is periodic. So we have an observation that h of omega is periodic with period 2 pi, and low frequency components are represented around omega is 0, 0, 2 pi, plus or minus 2 pi, plus or minus 4 pi, etc. Whereas because of this periodicity, the entire spectrum of minus infinity to plus infinity is compressed in the interval minus pi to plus pi, and hence we have the high frequency components around odd multiples of pi. So plus or minus pi, plus or minus 3 pi, plus or minus 5 pi, and so on. This is our frequency response. So from the frequency response, we are able to comment on the periodicity. I mean, of course, we know it's periodic. We are able to comment whether the filter is low pass or high pass. In this specific case, the frequency response happens to be that of a low pass filter, and hence the given system is a low pass filter. Now let us similarly look at the phase plot. To get the phase plot, all that we need to do is, instead of getting the absolute value, we need to get the angle value. So let's we have the same we plot versus omega, and let me plot it as a function of angle. And if I want my angle in degrees, let me multiply it by 180 and divide by pi. And my omega, now my new limits are minus 4 pi to plus 4 pi, so that will remain. Now because I'm changing my angle in degrees, my angle will now go from minus 180 to plus 180. And let's look at for the title, I should have changed it to phase plot. Let me do that. I should change my title to phase plot. Now it's not the magnitude response, but it is the phase response. And let us look at the phase plot. It has a little bit of it is periodic, once again with period 2 pi. Or if I want to have a clear plot, let me once again take omega only in the range of minus 0 to 2 pi, so that I can see the phase plot in one period. So my phase plot, let me plot it in the range 0 to 2 pi, and let's look at the phase plot. Okay, I'm sorry. I have changed my omega, but I need to recompute my h omega, and then otherwise, yes. So let us look at the phase plot. The phase plot is almost somewhat linear, but a little deviation, but it varies in the range minus 180 to plus 180, because we have converted to degrees. And this is a phase plot, and it is again periodic. I mean, this is what the plot in one period of 0 to 2 pi. So I will not attempt to plot okay, if I try to plot the phase response in the interval 0 to 2 pi. I think it was negative, then it's going to minus 180. It suddenly goes up, and then it's something like this. I mean, the exact plot is available in MATLAB. but we have seen the plot, but this is a freehand drawing of the actual plot. The actual plot is given here, correct and precise for the interval 0 to 2 pi. Sorry. So now let's continue. So we have now seen the representing the given system using the uh, magnitude and phase response. Now let's go to the last method of representing, and which is representing using the sixth method of representing the LTI system, which let's have the difference equation once again. Plus 5 xn minus 1 plus 8 xn minus 2 plus 6 xn minus 3. This is our difference equation, and let's try to represent it as a block diagram. As a block diagram. In this example, we do not have a feedback, and we have distinct constants, and so what we have a very simplified we have method of representing this system. So if I have my input as x of n, here I'm going to have x of n minus 1 because this is a delay. I have another delay element, so this is going to be x of n minus 2. And I have another delay element, then so the output is going to be this output is going to be x of n minus 3. And now I need to add, and I get my output yn. My xn is one of the inputs to the adder. Another input to the adder is x of n minus 1, but that is multiplied by a gain of 5. I have x of n minus 2, which is having a multiplying factor of 8. And I have x of n minus 3, which has a multiplying factor of 6. So an actual implementation, whatever we have seen till now is various mathematical models or methods of representing the given system. But a practical implementation would mean having some numbers and delay elements which will keep shifting the numbers through the delay elements, and then by suitable multiplication and addition I can get the output. So this is the block diagram representation of the given FIR system. And I can also compute my assuming everything is relaxed, I can give any input and then try to compute the output for any other input. So this completes the first example that we have taken. We shall quickly take up one more example, very similar, but a small change in the example that we have already seen. Let's take up another example. Example 2. And now let me say I take my system as, say, yn is again x of n minus 5xn minus 1 plus 8xn minus 2 minus 6xn minus 3. So now what happens if I were to go to my first representation? This is my difference equation, and the block diagram representation, let's do the block diagram representation first because we have it ready here. So I can just copy, since I've retained my gains also very similar, I can take it. And if I want to have the block diagram representation of this new system, let's have the block diagram representation. First, so what I have is 1. My gain has now become minus 5. This is a plus 1. This gain is minus 5. This is a plus 8, and this is a minus 6. So that's it. So now I had to just change the sign of 2 of the coefficients, and I could convert my earlier system to the given new system. So now let us take, we want to compute the impulse response Hn. The second method of representing, let us say I want to compute the impulse response. Now we shall not do all those steps. I'm sure now, having done the previous example in detail, we can immediately recognize the impulse response in this case. I can do it an iterative method and I can get the results. So it's going to be 1, -5, 8, -6. So my impulse response is going to be 1, -5, 8, -6. This is my impulse response, and of course I can sketch the impulse response as 1, -5, then 8 and -6. This is my h of n equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all it is 0. So this is my impulse response hn. And once again, by looking at the impulse response, I can comment on certain properties, because it is one, it is causal. It is causal because I hope I mentioned the system as causal. Yes, it's causal because the system is causal because the output is 0 for n less than 0. It is stable because sigma mod hn is finite, and it's once again an FIR system because the duration of the impulse response is finite. The impulse response duration is finite. So now going to another method of representing, let's take the Z transform. So h of z, I know my h of n. H of n is 1, -5, 8, -6, and this is the origin. I can also write my impulse response as a sum of delta n -5 delta n -1 plus 8 delta n -2 -6 delta n -3. And we know that the Z transform of delta n, the Z transform is 1. And by the time shift property, delta n -1 has a Z transform, Z inverse. So when I do that, I can directly get the Z transform from the impulse response. So from this representation, if I see delta n is a 1, -5, Z inverse 5, delta n -1 has a Z transform Z inverse, and 5 by linearity it remains 8, Z power -2, -6, Z power -3. So this is what we have our Z transform of the given system as. Moving further, if I try to get the pole zero plot, the next method of representing the pole zero plot. Pole zero plot, we just make it in positive powers of z. So I multiply the all terms by z cube. So then I have z cube -5 z square plus 8z -6 divided by z cube. So now let us see what is the pole zero plot. So once again, let's now my hn in this case is 1, -5, 8, -6 is my hn. So I can try to see the roots of my hn to know where my zeros are located. So now you see we have the zeros located at 3, 1 plus or minus j. So what in this example, what we have now, we have our zeros located at 3 and 1 plus j and 1 minus j. And of course, we have 3 poles all located at the origin. 3 poles located at the origin. So now I can look at the, so if I attempt drawing the pole zero plot, what we have now in this case is I have the Z plane, I have the real axis, I have the imaginary axis, I have a 0, 1, 0 at 3. I have 1, 0 at 1 plus j, and I have another 0 at 1 minus j. And I have 3 poles at the origin. So once again, because the poles are within the unit circle and because it's an FIR system, the system is stable. Of course, we can also comment on the frequency and characteristics of a system by looking at the pole zero plot, but that we shall defer it when we take up a discussion on digital filters. So now let us just check whether we get the same result by using the inbuilt command of MATLAB. My denominator is 1. This is my numerator polynomial, and so this is what we have. We have 3 poles at the origin, 1 0 at 1 plus j, 1 0 at 1 minus j, and another 0 at 3. So this is what this is our pole zero plot. And now let's take up the next representation, and which is the frequency response. The frequency response. Frequency response for the same system. So we have h of z. H of z is given by 1 minus 5 z inverse plus 8 z bar minus 2 minus 6 z bar minus 3. And the frequency response h of omega, I can get it. One method is by h of z, replace z by e power j omega, and so I get it as 1 minus 5 e power minus j omega plus 8 e power minus 2j omega minus 6 e power minus 3j omega. And once again, I can try to plot it for different values of omega, and let us see how the frequency response of the system is now in this case. We'll once again take the help of MATLAB, because this is going to be computationally intensive. Of course, we can substitute different values of omega and get the result, but let's do it that way. Let's define omega as in the interval 0 to 2 pi. And what's my h omega? H omega, I have retained, for convenience, I retained similar coefficients and I changed the sign. I had 1 minus 5 e power minus j omega plus 8 e power minus 2 j omega and a minus. So two terms, two coefficients got a change in sign. And now let me try to plot the magnitude response. So plot omega absolute value of the frequency response, and my limits are going to be 0 to 2 pi, 0 to 2 pi, and this let us say minus 5 to 2 plus 5. Let's check, and my title is magnitude response. So it's, I need to just change my say. So let's So let's look at the plot. How is the response now? We have in the interval 0 to 2 pi, we are having lower magnitude around 0 and 2 pi and higher magnitude around pi. So now this has transformed into a high pass filter. So if I were to sketch the frequency response in the interval, say this is minus pi and this is say pi and say 2 pi. So what we have now is we have a maximum around pi and reduces. So immediately we conclude that this is a high pass filter. This is magnitude of h of omega. And if let's try plotting the same for to check on the periodicity. Let's redefine our omega as the interval, say minus 4 pi to 4 pi. And let me compute my h omega once again. I compute it, and now let's plot the result. Of course, there is no requirement to define the axis. It is just for our preference that we are defining. Otherwise, MATLAB will itself define the axis and sorry, minus 4 pi 2. So this is what we have the result. This is what we have the result. So let's once again define our omega in the interval minus 4 pi to plus 4 pi, and let's compute h omega. And now let's try to plot the result for the interval minus 4 pi to plus 4 pi, and let's see the plot. See once again, now we have, it's again periodic. Since I've defined it in the interval minus 4 pi to plus 4 pi, it is we have four cycles present, and the maximum is now around 0, around 2 pi, around minus 2 pi, the magnitude is 0, and it is high around pi, 3 pi, and so on, and hence this is a high pass filter. So the periodicity always exists, and it's always periodic, and yes, it's in this case it's not so smooth, but it is what we have seen. It's a poor drawing of the actual frequency response that is given precisely by MATLAB, by a good plot. I mean, it's a freehand sketch, and hence it's a poor approximation of the actual plot. But our conclusion is a high pass filter. Now, the two examples that we have seen in the first case, to summarize, we had taken an example where my frequency response was 586, and this resulted in a low pass filter. Whereas when I took another system, when I took another system, when I changed my impulse response coefficients 1, minus 5, 8, minus 6, we got a high pass filter. So design of filters, discrete time systems or digital filters is as simple as just designing the right coefficients of the impulse response or the right coefficients of the difference equation, and we will have systems with different frequency properties or stability properties. So thank you. In the next module, we will see all the components that we have seen today, that is moving from the difference equation to other forms of representation of the LTI system for an IIR filter. Today we had seen the FIR filter. In the next module, we shall see the IIR filter. Thank you. And for reference, I have been following the book Digital Signal Processing by Rabiner and Gold. Thank you. Sorry. Yes, for this topic, I have Theory and Applications of Digital Signal Processing by Rabiner and Cole. This is one book I have been following extensively for these topics. Thank you.